So I'll do this.
Hello, everybody.
Hi. Happy almost New Year. Merry after Christmas.
That was a mouthful.
Yeah, well, you got to get it all in there when you can.
I am Prof Sales, and she is Karin.
Karin and Gypsy Roll Events are somewhere behind us. They're slackers.
They're way over there. So we are coming at you with this is going to be the last show of the year?
Well, unless we do another one.
Maybe. It's the 27th. It could be the last show. There might be one more.
Let's just have.
We are coming at you with.
Oh, that's my fault.
Oh, rookie mistake.
Oh,
kill your volume.
All done.
So I had the same thing going too.
That's like a Barbie commercial. What is that?
So it was a commercial on YouTube. What do you want from me? Yeah, so this is probably our last show of 2016. We might be one more.
Let's just do one more, just for fun.
We're going to do one more? All right, we'll do one more. She says we're going to do one more show. But we are glad to be here. It's been a few days. If you've been like us, everyone, we've been on kind of vacation, the holidays and so on.
Christmas hiatus, maybe.
Christmas hiatus. Yeah, I feel like it's been a December hiatus. What about you?
For real, it has.
It has. Like, has anybody else out there, just December for you, just been sort of, bleh. I don't even know how to describe that. Just bleh. Like just a lot of issues with getting listings up, and business has been slower actually the last week or so. I don't know. It's just been sort of a little bit down. But I'm not down. Are you down, Karin?
I'm never down. I'm always up, up, up.
That's actually kind of true. So, so we are here, and we're going to talk about a couple things today. We'll give you guys some business updates and how we've been doing, because I know we haven't done those in probably about a week now. And, hopefully it will be a good show.
It's always a good show.
I never really know. All right, so what all we got to talk about? We got several issues that have come up and things we've been dealing with, and we've been doing differently, wouldn't you say?
Yes, I would say.
I thought you were going to say more, so that's why I was waiting.
Well, usually I have a cheat sheet. We didn't make a list. All you said is, how do you feel if we talk about this? Cheat sheet is
right here, baby.
So I'm just winging it.
She's just winging it. I'm always winging it, but we're going to talk about a few things. So first off, I wanted to talk about systems. So Karin and I are experimenting, is that the right word, with new systems on how to list things?
Yeah, we're still talking to each other, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out, what we want to, well, let me back up and say our plan is to hire someone here after the first of the year to do listings. And before you can hire somebody, you need to be able to tell them what the heck it is you want them to do. And I've realized, and I think she's realized, that, going to hire someone, it forces you to really reevaluate how you do things. And maybe what you were doing, you're just kind of winging it, as we were saying, and you were like, oh, well, when this happens, I just do this. But that might not be really an efficient way to do it. And then even if it is, explaining to somebody else is a little tricky sometimes. So we've taken our listing process, actually not just our listing, our quality control, our inventory labeling, our photo process, and listing.
We sort of revisited from the time, whatever it is, jeans, jackets, whatever, from the time it walks through that front door, we've pretty much revisited every step along the way until it walks out the door again, quite honestly.
Right. It's like, what's the life cycle of your product? From the moment you buy it or you purchase it or you get it till you pack it and ship it away. What does that look like from start to finish? Because we've kind of been doing it a certain way, but we realize in certain steps along that way, we weren't very organized. Like, I'm thinking about that.
Speak for yourself.
Well, she was organized. Half of us, 60% of us, you're like my better 3/4, because you're more than a half.
Aww.
Isn't that nice? So, but no jokes aside, we bring stuff in and we realize we're just having it sit around in a bag. And then at some point we would get it and put it on a shelf. And then at some point we would get it and take those items and look at them for quality. And then at some point we would photograph them. At some point we would list them. But we realized, man, if we had to explain that to an employee, I couldn't do it. Like, I could do it, but it would be difficult. And I would leave things out because I realized we did kind of make it up somewhat as we went along. So what we're really doing is we decided to flesh out that process. Like Karin and I today, we took jeans and she quality controlled them right over at our photo studio, and she would read off to me what they were, like, you know, Levi's jeans 505, you know, whatever, and then the size and men's or women's and so on. And I would actually put that in the inventory sheet and create an inventory tag for it. So do we have one we can show them?
Nope.
Oh.
Oh, here, let me get up. If you happen to see my fancy new pants in the process. I'm going to start singing the song.
I know you are.
Can you see them? Can they
yes.
see it?
Somebody found her a pair. Well, you need to go that way. Somebody found her a pair of apple bottom jeans.
Oh, well, anyway, you have to take them. I'm trying to model them, but it's just not working.
I was like, are you really about to put your butt on YouTube? And she's like, I've done it before.
It's been on YouTube by accident before, so what's the big difference? Apple bottom jeans, boots with the fur.
Oh, you sang boots.
I did.
Nice. All right, so here's what we came up with, guys. So let me show you something. I'm going to try to get that in.
Give it a sec to focus.
Yeah, so you can see that's what our inventory tag now looks like. Now, before, it just had the 3804 and the A536. But here's why we did this. That is actually what my listing title will be when these get listed. Now, these are not listed yet. But you see on there's a waist and an inseam and a front rise measurement. And
I want to put them back so they don't get.
Right. So that's actually what it's going to look like going forward. And the reason we're doing that is we figured out if we want somebody to list those jeans, let's say we have a batch of photos and that jean as well as a bunch of other pair are in it. We can take a photo of that tag, that could be the divider, and say, all right, and these next 5 shots are the jean. Here you go. Then maybe we do a shot at the end just to make sure so they know that's the end of the set. And then they can take that and they can list it. And that's going to be the inventory number and the stock location. So that way they are able to not even have the jean. Well, let me share that when we talk about Luke here in a minute. They are able to go ahead and list that jean with the set of photos we give them, and they don't need any more information from me or Karin. And we've already put it in the spreadsheet in the inventory. So all we have to do is once it's listed and submitted, we just put the listing date, and that takes it live in my inventory of listings. Then my spreadsheet knows that it's live, and it's like, all right, that got listed on December 27th.
So this was our challenge. And Keystone Picker, and I'm pointing because your iPad's up and it's showing the chat, but Keystone Picker brings up a good point. Reduce the touch points. Okay. Yes, that was one of our goals.
Yeah.
But we also need to figure out a way to batch certain tasks so that if somebody gets ahead of somebody else, it can be grouped together and then that can set on deck for somebody else. And then we also, those same tasks, we need to figure out how to work them in tandem together. And that's kind of what we started today. The big difference is that we're entering it into inventory and creating our title line immediately. Whereas before, we would get these big piles, these big bags of things, and they would sit on a shelf, and then we would take pictures, and then they would come here.
Right.
So our thought process is we enter them into inventory. There's lots of good bonuses to why you do that anyway, but they're literally in inventory. The title's been created, and that gives us the ability to hand it off to someone else to list. And we're still fleshing that out, because it's one thing for you and I to work together.
Right. Right.
And with regard to hiring a real employee, which is what we're going to do, we're not calling it a code for anything anymore. This is going to be a real person that gets really paid and really documented, whatever. So we have to integrate it so that they can do it and it'll make sense to them. We're basically giving them wings. We're not going to show them exactly how to fly necessarily, because we've talked about, everybody is going to find their own shortcuts, their own way. So when we get to that listing page, we want someone to be able to make it their own, as long as they're filling in the things we want them to fill in. And you found with working with me, I find different ways to do things and different shortcuts and cut and paste and whatever. So. Yeah.
And that's really what we're trying to do, guys. And this all ties in with the topic of the show, how to scale your business. Because I was talking with another reseller yesterday, and we'll get to that. Luke. And he was talking about, being able to scale his business, and he wants to scale it up to a level to where, maybe one day he can go full time. He's still fleshing out what that's going to look like. And so many people say, eBay can't be scaled. And that's just silly. I mean, any business for the most part can be scaled if you can hire people to work in it, and you can use automation and outside resources to take things off of your plate. Now, I would argue if you're doing it all yourself, yes, there is a limit to what you can scale to based on sourcing availability, based on photos, but more based on just your time, right? I mean, that's the one thing none of us have any more of. I get the same 24 hours a day that you do. I don't get any extra time. So if you can scale your time in terms of using employees or processes, of course you can scale eBay. How big? There's people who are $1 million plus sellers in clothing. So of course it can be done. I mean, it's just silly to sit here and think, oh, eBay can't be scaled. Is it easier to scale maybe Amazon? Maybe, because they're providing the warehousing for you and you're not having to spend as much time on the front end with photos and so on, because you're listing against one ASIN. But of course, eBay can be scaled, and it can certainly be scaled big enough to provide, really good resources and income for you and your family and so on. So it's not impossible, but we'll get more into that conversation in a moment. Turtle asked if the person would be contracted. Probably. That's what my accountant is telling me. Turtle is probably a contractor, and that is a nice segue into the next section. So yesterday, was it yesterday?
I don't know. What are you about to say?
Oh, well, that's a good point. Well, yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Oh, wait, we're going to get a copyright because I sound just like was that Paul McCartney? I think McCartney.
I think so.
Or did Lennon sing that one? I can't remember.
So we had a second meetup. Tiffany was our first.
Yep.
And then we got to meet Luke.
We met Luke. Luke is a clothing reseller who lives here in Charlotte.
A couple miles from here, apparently.
Yeah, a couple miles from us. And he had reached out to me. He reached out to me a few months ago, I guess, maybe a month and a half ago. And then he and I were on a show together on a green room show. And we made plans to meet and do some sourcing and just make a connection, and network. And we met yesterday at Goodwill. Imagine that. Huh. And I spent a good chunk of time with him as he was going through. He sells a lot of shirts, men's blazers and sport coats, things like that. He doesn't really sell jeans. So it was kind of interesting, to hear another person's take on clothing reselling and, just kind of hearing his thought processes. I definitely learned a lot just by like how he was thinking about it. And, we spent some time, we sourced some jeans while we were there. Karin was there too. And then we had, some time afterwards, we stopped and got some food. And what an awesome guy.
Yeah, I like Luke. Luke's a good fella. He's a good egg.
Smart guy too. I mean, this guy, he really thinks about it on another level. And I love people like that. I mean, that just gets me excited and fired up when people are, they're out of this mindset of, oh, you can only do this because that's what somebody told me once. No, of course it's not true. Of course you can do more. You can do it in a different way.
Well, and that's why he reached out to you, because you guys have a similar mindset.
Right.
And so you guys clicked right away.
And he has 1,400 listings on eBay.
All by himself?
All by himself, guys. Only him. And they're all clothing. I think they're all clothing, right?
I think so.
And, he's talked about that. But he has I think he has a storage unit, right? Not a warehouse.
Well, that's what you said. He doesn't have a warehouse yet. That's in the future plans.
I think he has a storage unit where he stores his items and, of course, pulls for sales, which is smart because you run out of housing space, But he has agreed to come on the show, Revenue Wrap, in the near future. So I think he's supposed to come on in just over a week, right? Week and a half.
The 9th.
A week from this Monday.
January 9th.
So Luke will be on the show, and Luke is doing amazing, and he has big plans too, guys. And I don't want to steal all his thunder. I'll let him talk more about that.
But watch him, because he's got some great ideas. He's got, again, his own way to do it and his own system. And I see a lot of value in that in him. He's a good fella. You'll love him. I love him. You'll love him.
And one of the takeaways from that, guys, I learned, and also the visit we had with Tiffany last week is, guys, get out there and make friends with the resellers in your area. I mean, don't be afraid of that. I know a lot of people, you're gonna view them as competition, and maybe they are, but really you can learn things from other people, and most of us don't sell and approach it exactly the same way. So it's not necessarily that they're competition, but they're a resource, and you can learn something from anyone, whether they're bigger than you or smaller than you, or they sell this or they sell that. Doesn't matter. You can learn from them. And we've probably been putting that off too long, and I'm glad we're starting to reach out to some of the people around us.
Create a network of, the online community is great.
Yes.
And we talked about that last night, how one of the things that I like most is how we all get together for your show or whoever's show. I'm even going to be on a show, a girl show, but I digress. So we talked about how, there's value in that. And I think that you can, whether you're, the shoe guy or the jean guy or the sport suit coat guy, girl, or gal, there's something to be gleaned from every experience.
Right. You can definitely learn, but you've got to reach out to people in your area and find out. I mean, through the Reseller Society, is great because it's a huge group and there's a lot of members across the country, and there's a lot of other groups too. But yeah, look for Luke. He'll be on, I guess, I think a week from Monday. We booked it, and really looking forward to that show. And I think you guys will love him.
Well, and so hold on a second. So we talked last night about how it came up about the competition thing. Like, remember how my evolution with it comes up a lot. Well, why are you teaching other people to do this? Why are you sharing what you do? Why are you going to hire somebody? They're just going to steal your idea, and then you're not going to be able to find any more jeans. We'll use us as an example. Oh, don't do it. Don't share your knowledge. Don't meet Luke at the pancake place or whatever. Well, here's the thing. We can teach someone everything, or as much as we can, right? But what we can't teach is work ethic. We can't make somebody have a certain mindset. We can't, what's going to be different about, you and me is going to be, your revenue, your dedication, the time you can put into a business. And the way we've always approached this with each other, with our friends, we have family that we're helping to augment their existing income with some reselling, right?
Right.
It's, and we're also big believers in, things happen, they happen for a reason, and, don't sweat it. I mean, you put it out there and what happens will happen.
Right.
So worst case, we hire somebody and we teach them how to do this, and somewhere down the line, they sell a pair of shoes and make a couple bucks. I mean, is that so terrible? We've just increased their what's it called? Their tool set, their whatever. So we've never looked at it. Here were some pretty competitive resellers at the same Goodwill together, and we're all looking at different things.
Yeah.
And bless his heart, he gave me a Lucky shirt, but it didn't quite fit in the front. So
yeah, he actually threw me a suit jacket too, which I'm going to list. So thank you, Luke, if you're watching. And,
and we talked about opportunities where we can all kind of get together, even, do a meetup or something, and just share knowledge and support. And what I'm getting to in a very roundabout as usual way is that Luke, for example, works a real job still, but his goal is to do online reselling full time. So he's also a very social person, as am I. And when you give up that water cooler day job kind of stuff, what are you going to supplement? What are you going to put in its place? And we have this wonderful online community. So it's sort of a transition, but so far we've had pretty good luck with it.
Yep.
So
agreed.
That's my pitch for the online.
Yeah. Network, I mean, you would do that in any other field. It's how you learn. Nobody knows everything. Nobody has all the answers. Everybody has different pieces to different puzzles, honestly. So get out there and find and learn. I mean, there's no reason to keep it all to yourself. And I'm kind of a big believer in too, that if you never give anything away, you'll never get anything.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's true. You have to kind of give away what you learn, and if you do it with the right heart, I think it'll come back to you multiplied. So Luke is going to be a great addition to the show. So there's a couple questions here I wanted to hit. What best practice would you, JR said, what best practices would you recommend to keep feedback at 100%? Customers seem mad if they have to pay return shipping. Any advice? If somebody's going to be mad about return shipping and that's what you charge, I don't know what you can really do about that. I mean, they either read that and know it and buy it anyway with that risk, or they miss it and then they get mad, but they're really just mad that they missed it. I mean, I think you just adhere to the terms. You take the right pictures. You do the right listing description. And that's all you can do. I mean, ultimately, if someone's going to give you a negative feedback, there was nothing you could have done differently to really stop that. I mean, that's just who they are and their unhappiness with whatever's going on in their life. And it's not really you necessarily. It's just you were there and convenient to take it out on.
Oh, that whole stream is just lovely, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So did you answer J.R. White's question good enough?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Let's see. So there
just
might have been
be
another
good.
question.
Treat it like good customer service, I think. Be on time. Don't send them crappy stuff.
Hank says Luke is a local reseller. They got to meet up with the pancake place.
Who
well,
said
we
that?
actually met at Goodwill, but then we went to the pancake place after that.
Only the classiest here, my friends.
That's right.
Oh, they were side by side. It was just made sense.
So what else? All right. So yeah, so Luke is on deck. We'll definitely have him on the show. Another guest too that I'm confirming the date on, but more about that when I have the date. And what? You stopped, you paused there. You froze in mid-drink. It threw me off.
Well, I was wondering, Wicked Picker said they had a major gene fail when they sold something. They put it at 33.5, which was they put it at 40, which was the tag said, but it was actually 33.5. All right, 7 inches is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, that's kind of a big discrepancy there.
Yeah, that would have been a good one. And agreed, that's a hard one. But we were talking about that just this morning with our new system, that we have to accommodate for those discrepancies. And we're using what we're doing now is we're not going by brand, because we've had this discussion until we turn blue in the face. Every brand has a different idea of what their inseam length or beginning or end should be. So we're just going by eBay standards, which goes right up to the bottom, the actual inseam in the crotch, right? And
Right.
So we had a pair today that measured wrong. And how are you doing it? Because I still don't even know how to answer that question.
Am I doing what?
The inseam business when it's
Oh,
off.
yeah, to the normal one. Yeah, and I was just going to show you the tag again. I know we showed it earlier, but some people may have missed it, and I didn't really explain it now that I was thinking about it, what we have on this tag. So here's the tag, guys. You can see there is an item number, and you know what? I'm just going to take it off the
I was
thing.
peeking.
There's an item number and SKU inventory location,
Top row,
and then you've got what the type of jean is,
middle,
the size, and then the actual measurements.
Bottom.
The waist on these is a little bit smaller than 33, so I put them at 32.
So we're pulling waist, inseam, and FR, front rise.
Yeah, the inseam is 29. It's close to the 30, but there can be a little variation here. I mean, if you pull on the jean in a certain way, you can probably get it to 30 sometimes or less. I mean, it's kind of tricky with that from time to time, but these were a little bit shorter. The front rise was 11, and that's basically and that's basically what the listing title will look like. It won't have the measurements in the title, but it'll have size 33, 30, men's, blah, 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 Levi's jeans, straight fit. And that's basically it. And then other stuff will appear in there. But the cool thing is with this tag now, as I was saying earlier, is now I can give this to someone who's listing, and they can get the listing done without having to, without having to do the measurements themselves or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So a third party, you want to make it as simple as you can for them, but at the same time, you want to be. This is a struggle we're having with hiring someone. Because Karen's like, well, why don't you just do that and then send that to them and do that and send it to them? And I'm like, well, that's the whole damn listing at that point. They're not really giving us any value. So it's like, how much can you give someone, but at the same time, not, give them so little that they can't do it, or give them so much that they're not helping you. There's definitely some, there's definitely a balance to be struck there. And so that's just really what we're looking at, but trying to figure that out for the person. And then we think we're going to hire somebody here locally, guys. We talked about that with, I've talked about it with my accountant, and it doesn't matter. It could be a VA or somebody overseas, but because of the language issue and just being able to, talk to the person and train them in person, I just think it's gonna be easier. It'd probably be a little more expensive.
Well, and there's still, maybe this is the softy in me, but I look forward to, I've been self-employed for most of my life. I've had my own businesses. I've run my own nonprofit, all kind of things. And there's a part of me that really wants to give something to someone. I mean, is it really so bad if we add a new skill set to somebody's life and give them something that they can maybe someday make a living at? And so I'm not so much a fan of the VA. So the fact that we're looking into hiring, you just did eyebrows, didn't you? I want to keep it, and I want to keep it here in the US, and I want to make, help somebody out, because I've seen that through my own businesses and being, part of a family business for a while. Even I've seen how that changes lives. And I'm really interested in somebody, they start out as a Chelsea, to Tiffany and James, as the most awesomest lister helper ever. But then they can grow into other things. We're talking about having, our PROF army, if you will, where we're, having teams. Well, it's like a contingency, right?
Or we're going to go PROF army.
PROF army. Anyway,
I don't know what that means.
You're starting to sound like me. Where we get to a point, and we're going to have to, and you'll hear us talk a lot over the next couple of months, where we're at this awkward, not grow or die, but grow or not kind of point, where we either are going to get bigger or we're not. And in order to do that, there's going to be some growing pains. So we're talking about going in teams where we're going to source together. We're going to photograph together. So the two of us are going to turn into 4, are going to turn into 6, are going to turn into 12, are going to start to multiply, because the only way for us to scale up to do that is we have to I was going to say we have to reproduce. Okay, those days are over for me. One teenager's enough. That's not what I mean. But we're going to have to clone ourselves. I'm really going down fast with this one. But anyway, that's the only way to do it, because it's not enough to say, and you said this on a show or two ago, where, it's not enough to say, okay, we did $1 million last year, and now we're going to do 2. Well, how? I mean, it's not like we can reproduce ourselves and suddenly there's 2 Jasons and 2 Karens. We have to have a plan in place. And we're quickly reaching a point where we just can't
That's a great point.
Do everything.
That's a great point, Karen. And I wanted to expand on that a little bit because, and we've talked about this before, guys, but if you're at 10 listings on eBay, to go to 20 is not a big jump.
Right.
Because the time, it's because the time and the effort to get 10 more items and source them and photograph them, list them, is not a big time spend. But if you're at 1,000 listings and you want to go to 2,000, that's a huge undertaking, because now you may not have enough time, you alone. Time is the one that keeps constraining you, because there's only so hard you can work and so much you can put into it. And then that's it. Like, you've capped, you've peaked. And that's when you've got to start looking at, well, you can be more efficient, but you can also look at bringing somebody else in to help you. I mean, that's just the way it is, you know. And some things are realistic. To scale up for you to double from $50 a month in sales to 100, not that hard. For Walmart to double from 500 billion a year to $1 trillion is pretty much impossible. So, I mean, there's just ways that you have to think about scaling up your business. And if that's what you want to do, and that makes sense. And what are you going to need to do it? Like, you really need to plan it out on some level. to say that I'm just going to do more, you're going to wake up one day realizing you all you did was buy yourself a job, and you still may not even hit your goals that you want to hit. So you got to find a way to scale up that makes sense with the resources that you can put into the business, whether it's more time on your part, more money, bringing on someone else, automating processes, whatever it is. I mean, all those things, or some combination of them, that's how you scale up your business. I mean, you can't just wish it so. I mean, that's great. And it starts with a belief, but the follow through requires real life tactics
and sacrifices and choices. And
sure.
And I'll tell you, as much as it annoys me sometimes, your suggestion to make a list. I've never made a list like I've made a list. She's not a lister this week. Well, I'm the kind of list maker where I'll say, okay, I need to stop. I'll make a list of things to do. That's not what I've done here, right? Right. I've made a list of goals and I've made a list of strategies, and don't make me rattle off all the procrastinate and delineate and all that stuff. I'm not going to do that. But I've made a list of what I want and how I'm going to get there. And I resented it, if I'm being honest with you, because I felt I need certain disciplines, but I was like, really, I have to write this down? But you didn't push me too far. I went ahead and did it on my own, and I made this list, and it gives me some different perspective, and it actually helps motivate me towards some certain things that, I want to do next year. So
yeah. And a point I wanted to bring up that ties in with this, that Luke brought up the other day, and I not even considered what he said, even though I knew about the concept. This is where networking with people helps. So we had talked to him about this idea that we were going to hire someone to list, to be a lister, and that would take some of the burden off, and we'd be able to scale quicker. Mm-hmm. And my thought process was from day one, what that was, all right, we'll bring this person here to the house. We will train them. We'll set them up on hey, there's a great sound. Cha-ching. We'll set them up on a laptop, and they'll be able to list, and, no problem. He said, out of the blue, when he was talking about scaling up, and it wasn't even in relation to my concept, was that, yeah, I love the idea of scaling up and having someone to help me list, and I can just drop things off at their house and then come back and get them once a week and drop off the next batch. And I'm sitting there thinking, why didn't I think of that? I'm like, oh my gosh, that just solves so many issues. They probably already have a computer. They can do it whatever time frame they want. Now there's no way you could argue they're an employee, because you're not requiring them to come in on a scheduled day, to set place. And oh my gosh, that just made so much sense when he said that. And I went, wow, that would be perfect for what we're doing. We could take 50 pair of jeans to somebody and say, hey, we'll be back, next week or whatever the time frame is, and bring you more.
And that makes it easier if you're going to make them a contractor too, because then they're setting their own schedule, setting their own pace.
They can do it at a time that's convenient for them when they're feeling energetic. I don't care if they take all week to do it, whatever the time, it doesn't matter to me. So there's another example of a way you can scale up, which I wouldn't have known if I hadn't networked with someone. And I knew about that method, but for Amazon, actually, I'd heard it in a podcast. Somebody did it with their Amazon business. They took stuff to people's homes, and then they came back and got them once a week because they live in the same city as them. I never even considered it for eBay. But I'm like, it would absolutely work. It would absolutely work.
We're finding that the more we talk to everybody, little nuggets. I mean, you're applying nuggets from way over here to something over here. Yeah. So you just never know. You just have to get out there. So did you see that somebody said there should be a King Flip PROF show, and we'd call it a live show called PROF Flip.
I like that. Or just Pro Flip.
Pro Flip.
Pro Flip. Pro Flip. We could just make it Pro Flip. Someone said too, I think it was Wicked said, I have loads of items to list and no time to actually sit down and photo list them. There's a prime example, Wicked Picker, but start with, why do you have loads of items to list and no one actually sat down and photo them? And I'm going to pick on you a little bit here, and you've done the same thing that we've done. You went out and bought a bunch of stuff because it was a great deal and you knew you could make money on it, but you didn't have the back end plan to get it listed in a timely manner. I mean, it's obviously bothering you because you're like, oh, I don't have time to list them, but you went and bought them. So it's like you had part of the plan, you knew what to buy, you had the resources to do it, you made the time to source it, but you didn't think about on the back end, how do I get this items up and listed? And I'm not putting you down, Wicked, because we've done it too, and we have some right now in the same boat. But that's the trap we fall into, because we're just out there reacting, guys. We're reacting to, oh, there's a bunch of items in this store that are a good deal. Great. But if you don't list them for 6 months, are they really good items? Maybe, maybe not. So you got to think about in retail. When I worked for clothing retailers, we had to turn our items every several weeks. I mean, you had to, because if you don't do that, in that case, we were borrowing money a lot of times, as big retailers do, lines of credit to buy a line, to buy your spring line, your summer line, your fall line. If you don't turn those items quick enough, the interest payments start piling up and it costs you more and more money. You got to turn it. You got to get money back out. A lot of times as resellers, we don't do that. We become a little bit like hoarders. We buy it and it sits there and we think, well, we'll get to it eventually. That's part of 2017's plan too. We're not gonna be those resellers anymore. We're not, if we have to say we're not leaving this house to buy anything else until we're not leaving this house, period. No, we're not leaving this house.
Wasn't that a Stephen King book or something?
Yeah, we're not leaving this house to buy anything else until we've listed what we've got. And that's it. Because why are you doing that? Why are you buying stuff when you already have things to list? Like, that indicates that you're not really strategizing your business. You're taking one part of it and deciding that's more important than another part of it, when really they're all have importance to your success, entire success too. So, well,
and that's why we ended up with so much of a big dead pile, honestly. And did you talk about that, by the way, your big donations? Like how you were able to donate all that stuff at the end. That's what we ended up doing. Anyway, that's how we ended up with that, because we kept stockpiling, these shirts, these really nice men's shirts, pile. Oh, we'll get to those, because we were focusing on jeans or whatever. We're not. In the new system that we're trying to formalize here, where it's literally going to walk through the door and we're going to enter it in inventory right away, and then it has a place, and then it's like an on deck sort of place. So we're not going to run into that anymore.
Right. And there were some questions in here.
Yeah, there's a lot. We got to go back. Hi, Eric. You sneaky guy.
Yeah. Some questions and comments I wanted to address, and they're good ones. King had said, going from 1,000 to 1,500 listings was way harder than anticipated. That's a 50% jump. It's not nothing. And it's a lot of items. 500 items is a lot of items to list, because what you got to remember, guys, is even though you're listing items every day, you're also selling items every day, especially when you get these higher numbers. So that takes time. So it's cutting back your listings. You got to pack and ship, deal with more questions the more you have listed. So your time spent on sort of those mundane things, those non-revenue producing things, increases. And that's something else too. We've talked about that. There could be someone that could be doing the packing and shipping of this as well. I mean, we just want to do what's makes the most sense and we can give to someone and get the most value for the business.
Somebody also said, and I think it was there's a Monica that says we're in the same area.
Oh, very cool.
Somebody said earlier yes, we are actually working toward a local meetup. I see a lot of value in that. I see a lot of community, and I love the idea. So we're already talking to, Luke was on board for something like that. Tiffany as well.
Carolina's Resellers.
Yeah. I mean, why not?
Maybe
well,
something,
we'll think of a good name for it. But I think it's a wonderful idea. So anybody that's on here that is local, 2017 is going to see us all getting together. Why not?
Yep. That is in the works.
Shoot. We'll just fill up an IHOP. No, we're not going to go to IHOP, but we'll all get together and compare notes. Why not? I think it's a great idea. So yes, local meetup coming soon.
Will you have an employee on the show? Maybe. We'll see. I don't know. That's way too early to figure that out, but possibly, sure.
I mean, we barely have my son on the show. That's just, we'll have to see about that. That's not part of the package. Hiring them is not contingent on being on the show.
If an employee is listing, would you have them going live with listings or just drafting them? That's a great question, Picker. And I think my response to that is, at first, probably just drafts, because we'd want to do some quality control on their listings, make sure they understand what we've told them, they grasp the concept, they're attaching the right photos to the right listing. And then from there, eventually maybe move on to just live listings. But that would obviously be with somebody who's down the road and you trust and you've seen a high degree of competency from, just like any other business. I mean, you're not going to, if you're running a bank, you're not going to give the brand new employee, access to hundreds of millions of dollars necessarily. I mean, they've got to have a track record. You start them out as a teller, and see if they can keep a drawer straight before you up their access and their responsibility level. Let's see.
Did you answer? Because that question got asked again, I think.
What question?
Is that the one you just?
I'm going down. Right?
Okay.
What?
Well, because JR asked kind of the same question about a person in a third-party app. Right there. It's kind of what you were answering.
Yeah. Are they going to work directly from your eBay account or third party? At this point, JR, probably third party is what we're thinking. I have some experience with InkFrog, which is a app that allows you, for those you don't know, and there's other ones too, they're not the only one. InkFrog has the ability to allow people to have access to your account, but limited access. Like they can only do certain things. So it's not like they can go in and change your address on your account, for instance. They have certain, it's just like access on a computer account at a regular job. You have access to certain areas, but other areas you don't. So I think, and that also makes it easier for them too, if they're going to be doing some of these listings at their own home, because then they can just log in from home. I don't need to give them access right here, but we'll see how that part goes. Not fully sure yet. I still like the idea of having them be here at least at first, and then maybe move into their home over time. But we'll see if that makes sense. Would you pay them by the piece? The Comfortable Life asks. That's a great question. I think if you're going to have someone at home doing this, if they're off-site, they're not in your place of business, you probably have to pay by the piece, because there's no way you can really monitor their hours, and they couldn't either, honestly. And people don't remember how much they worked a lot of times. If they're here, hourly. So that's kind of our thought process. Hourly is better because you can say, hey, you need to be around these numbers for an hour. And if they're not, then maybe it just isn't going to work out. You try to train them and so on. Let's see. A lot of questions here. 2 of my 3 rooms have closed, and I cannot even enjoy my new house.
Yeah, tell me about it. Our bedroom is about to flip.
Yeah. Our
bedroom is about to become the jean room, and the jean room is going to be our big old bedroom.
List them, journey to freedom, or donate them back. Don't keep letting them sit there forever. That will actually, if items, guys, if you have hundreds or even dozens of items laying around that are not getting listed and they're just sitting there, you are better off donating those and taking a loss than letting them continue to sit there, because mentally that is defeating. I mean, that is taking a toll on you, because it looks like failure, and it's there right in front of your face every day. You're like, man, I bought this stuff, and why can I not just get the time and energy or figure out how to get it listed or donate it back or do something with it? That's like failure staring you in the face. Get rid of it. Get it out of your house. Just donate it back, whatever you got to do. Sell it in a bundle on Craigslist or OfferUp. Move that stuff. Darren needs holes. Needs about 3 pair. Darren, we'll talk offline.
Heckleman.
Krillin, are you talking about employees? We were, Krillin.
And actually, we ran a Craigslist ad last year.
Yes.
And we are confident it's going to be so easy to find an employee, it's not even funny. Because we kind of put out a vague description, and within a couple hours, we had, 100 people. They were sending us their resume, and it was just, I think that ad was just to take pictures, right?
Yeah.
And we had people that had sold on eBay before, had been a not third party, but just a lister for somebody before. So yeah, we're not going to have any trouble finding somebody.
Yeah.
All sorts of people want a part-time hourly. Why not?
Krillin had somebody helping with listings, pay by the piece if offsite. Yeah, that makes sense. Do you mail out the post office or you have it picked up? Bully, we have to go to our post office here, which luckily is close by, a couple miles, but a pickup here just doesn't make sense. It's a long story. I've shared it before, but
basically we have no consistent time that our person comes. We also don't have a consistent person.
Right.
We've had mail stolen from our mailbox in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera.
It's a good neighborhood, but
it's just better if we bring it there. We don't have any issue, as some people have shared, where they show up and the post office is like, not you again. We do all right with dropping it off in the hopper and everything. So we definitely, at least one trip, at least one a day, sometimes more, and then 6 days a week.
Right. And we always combine it in with something else that we're either doing personally or for business. So it's never a wasted trip. Hey guys, 65 people watching right now. Thank you for that. That's a pretty dang
67.
awesome.
It's 67 and counting.
That's an awesome turnout. So if you're liking what you're hearing or you watch this later, what should they do, Karin?
They should smash the like button.
There it is. What was that at the end?
It's just a little bonus. It can't always be just smash it.
Okay.
It has to be a little something. Last month it was, we represent the Lollipop Guild.
This is what happens to her after Christmas every year. I don't even know what.
No, this is what happens when the girls get me hooked on these highball energy drinks without sugar in them.
There's nothing alcoholic in it, surprisingly.
Believe it or not, but there could be.
No, right?
So listen, somebody asked about a Facebook group for this. Couldn't we make a Facebook group for our local meetup stuff?
Yes, and that's not a bad idea, actually.
We could make a PROF Facebook group, could we not? And then we could make little subgroups, like a little, whatever we're going to call it, reseller rowdies or something. But
right.
You know what I mean? We could make groups like that. That's
right,
all.
Right. So, yeah, so we'll consider that, guys. I've thought about a group before, but it's like I want it to bring value. I also don't want it to be a huge time suck for me. I mean, quite honestly, and groups are some work to run, so, but that's a possibility, and we can see where it goes. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I think it could be good. We just have to, but I do really want to meet with more resellers. I'm seeing great value in it, just like ideas and so on. And as Wicked Picker says, so we can all chat outside of YouTube, which is awesome. I mean, that's the point, right? I mean, the show is great, but if you're not here in the moment, the moment passes by, and
Yeah, let's that'll be our homework, because there'd have to be a mission statement and a constitution. So there'd have to be like parameters for said group. Like none of that negativity stuff. Not for me. Not going to happen.
Yeah, we think Karin runs the Facebook group.
Okay, I can do it.
She loves Facebook. So anyway, all right. So I'm going to do a quick screen share, guys. Too. I'll show you our results. Seems like forever since we've seen the infamous spreadsheet of death. And
that's not true. There've been a couple of photos, like 60 photos in December. Right.
So let me show you that real quick. Do a screen share. And here we are. So you can see over here, guys, the sales the last several days, last week, have been really low. But I'm going to show you something else that's also been very low. The amount listed. Look at this. Complete slackeration. And we definitely have not been on the ball of listings. Photos are not really updated. Karin's taking more photos than that. I just don't have
Not many more. I've taken 60 for the whole month of December.
We have effectively, guys, taken about the last 3 weeks off.
Pretty much.
Pretty close to that. She was gone one of those weeks, and then the next 2 she was back. And you know what? It's hurt her sales. No question about it. Our listings have dropped down to about 830 in just jeans, which is pretty low. Jeans by month. We are about 46 for the month. We did top the $30,000 mark in gross since we started back in July with just jeans, which is pretty good. We've netted almost 12.5 on that since that time, just in the jean sales. Still holding around a 41% net, and $9.95 per jean. We're looking to push that up. We're going to increase our shipping cost a little bit, as that's going up at the first of the year anyway. So we're going to push that up, and hopefully that'll push up our sales a little bit more, but obviously we'll be spending more shipping, so it'll probably be a wash. And, the sell-through has been pretty good, 22% since we started. It was low in the first month because of summer and so on, but This is still kind of bogus over here, so it's not really great numbers to look at. But anyway, it's a problem.
Bogus.
I had a problem with a formula that got corrupted, and I had to make all these weird changes to do it. So definitely not great numbers, guys, and no excuses here. Haven't been listing. That's been the reason. I mean, I'd say that's probably 90% of it. I mean, there might have been a little drop off anyway, but not enough to justify that. So we've started, getting back on the wagon. We fell off the wagon, the listing wagon, I guess, right? I don't know. Is that really a wagon? I don't think it is.
Well, if we fell off of it, then it has
to be a wagon. So we fell off the listing wagon, and it has definitely hurt the sales. No question about it. Traffic has been a little bit down too. PROF slacker. Yeah, I know, right?
PROF slacker.
That's pretty funny, actually.
Pretty accurate.
But we refocused on some other things, and they're going to pay dividends going forward. So I'm not really worried about that. But I've told you guys, I've been honest with you guys about results since we started this challenge, and there it is. I could have blasted you with some big, huge numbers over the last 3 weeks, but those were the real numbers, and they weren't that good. They were poor, honestly, compared to what I have been doing, but they directly reflected lack of effort and follow through. So I can't be mad at them, and I'm not mad at them. I knew. I was like, I didn't start out to say, hey, I wonder what happens if I don't list hardly anything over 3 weeks. I knew what was going to happen, and it did. So it wasn't a surprise, but today's a new day, and tomorrow's a new day.
Well, and we're creating a new system that can still evolve, right? But what happened for me, I think what made me lose motivation, and I don't, he's the poker player. I don't have a good poker face. So when something's not going right, can you usually tell when I'm not happy? Like, is it very easy?
Oh, no, it's very difficult.
No. So it's really easy. So, I think we probably didn't talk a lot about it, honestly, because it just bugged the heck out of me. But we moved the photos, which are now back where they belong, but we moved the photo taking into a totally different room. And when we're so close and working together so much, he might get on my nerves a little bit. So we thought, okay, well, we'll go in there, you can take it. So I went in there, and to say it was a new learning curve is not even entirely accurate. It's a sunroom. It's windows on 4 sides of it. It's just crazy. So the lighting was wrong. The table wasn't there, that. And if I'm being honest, since we're full transparency here, I didn't like it. I resented it. And so whenever I don't like or resent something and I don't see it's adding value or doing me any good, I just stop. I distance myself from it. That's honest.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing I would have done differently is we probably spent too much time on the different photos setup, and it hurt both of our productivities because it just changed the whole dynamic. And we probably should have you see that the lights are back there now. So we should have changed that sooner. We let that go too long. And then we got caught up, honestly, guys, in the holiday crap. But that really wasn't a good excuse. I mean, there was plenty of time that we had there. We could have put into photographs and listing, and and we just didn't. So no excuses.
Well, and I've asked something pretty specific of you, since I'm just like all this full disclosure.
Which was?
When you delegate 100%. I mean, it's important. And if we're going to have an employee, it's going to be even more. You can't micromanage somebody because personally drives me bonkers. So, if we're going to change the photo setup, or if we're going to change the lighting, or if we're going to do this or do that, let that person, me in the case that I'm speaking of, let them own it and follow through with it. I mean, as much as you want to have a little piece of everything, you have to have confidence that whoever you hand it off to is going to run with it and score.
Right.
It's faith.
And we have every piece of optimism, I guess is not the right phrasing. We're very optimistic that 2017 is going to be a much better year than 2016.
Oh, we have some big plans in place.
Versus our results, not versus your results or Steve Rakin's results or Ronnie's results or Chad's or Pete's or anybody like that, just versus our own results. And, that's what we're aiming towards. So, I think our plan we have in place is a good one. I think it's sound. And now it just becomes a matter of following through and course correcting as things change and pop up, as they will. And we should be just fine. So by this time next year, we hope to be in a totally different place with lots of things.
Physically, mentally, financially, everythingly. Did you see King said, yeah, but you learned something. Always great King wisdom, right? And we did learn something.
Yep. We learned something.
Lots of somethings, actually. And
that's part of it, because nobody knocks it out of the park every day, every week. There's not a reseller out there who's been doing it for a while that you won't find that they've had lulls and periods where they, their business dropped off, and there's not, and for all kinds of reasons. But everybody out there loses focus, loses their drive, loses their attention to their business from time to time. It happens. The key is, do you react and get back up on the horse?
Well, of course you do. And that's the thing, as much as you lose it, know that you can get it back. And sometimes it doesn't take very much. And if you're ever in that dark place, give us a call, give us a shout, and we'll help bring you back. Because it happens. It's not the end of the world. And you just dust yourself off and just take a left instead of a right, whatever.
Can I tell you guys, just on a totally somewhat unrelated side note, I had an interesting dream last night. I already told Karin this.
You did?
Yes.
Okay.
So I dreamed last night that I went to the Goodwill outlet, the one that I don't like, the bins, so to speak, but now it's new and I kind of like it. And I don't know what deal I managed, but they made me a deal to sell. They would sell every pair of jeans they had in the back room for 10 cents a piece. And I bought 1,000 pair for $100. You think that's doable? That might be doable, right? Should I just try it now? Should I just go to the bins and say, hey, here's $100 bill with your name on it if you give me all them jeans over there? I don't know. I don't know if that'll happen or not, but I think it would be fun to try, because Luke and I, we were kind of talking about that the other day when we were talking to him about, what kind of deal would they be willing to give you for certain amounts of product. Just to clear it out, we have the belief too that they do not really have the scraps in our local outlet. It's just stuff they didn't get put out on the floor. It's not like it sat out in the store and then they decided, oh, this hasn't sold for 6 months. Let's send it to the outlet and get rid of it. We don't think so. We think it's just stuff they just didn't get out to the stores, because they don't label and tag the same way here in Charlotte they do everywhere else. In fact, they don't tag and label at all usually. So I don't really know how they know how long they had something, unless they've got some secret mark somewhere, and I kind of doubt that.
We'd like our Goodwills to keep doing exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. And you got $1 million in cash from the eBay sold. Yeah, Henry. If I could find 1,000 jeans I'd make $1 million off of, that'd be pretty good. $1,000 a pair.
What were the lights that, because Hank said something about she's having trouble with the lighting. What were the shop lights that Tiffany had that she just put the full spectrum bulbs?
Yeah, they were like a long.
It was a shop light, but she put the daylight or full spectrum bulbs, Hank. Try that. We've had a lot of luck. And we also, I was trying to take pictures of some purple corduroys last night. We're kind of playing around with our backgrounds to help color balance here. But I couldn't get the purple to work no matter what I did. And the more I edited it, the worse it got. So we actually went back on that particular pair to an all white background, and the color was spot on. So consider that. And you can get one of those, you can even get a poster board, but we use the foam board because it's just easier to manipulate and it lasts longer. But try, if you're going a little all out with your lighting, try one of these. It's a long, 3 feet long shop light, and just put some daylight or full spectrum bulbs in there, and that should help balance out the color.
Yeah, and it can be tricky with lighting. I find too that if you change the distance that you're shooting your photo from, don't move the item necessarily. You can, if you're holding the camera like it's your phone, you can just move the phone further back, and that will change the color of the item. Like the phone, especially if it's an iPhone, the way it will readjust the color balance will change dramatically. Sometimes we had that purple pair of cords.
That's Remember? What I was just talking about.
Is that what you're talking about? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't catch that part where you said that part. I'm a little out of it. I was reading the comments. I wasn't really paying attention.
I pay attention to every word that you say when I'm sitting next to you.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, the lights are back in the office, WP, for now.
Yeah, right behind us for now.
Although we have been experimenting with a different background. We have a table we've been using. It has a cool background, like a rockish background, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that was nice.
And it works pretty good, except for just that one item, which was just weird anyway.
It just wouldn't. It wouldn't. The purple, I took it 20 different ways. And
purple corduroys.
And they were nice. Purple, that's what we'll call them. They're really a lilac.
Yeah, they're yeah, whatever.
A light purple.
So, anyway. All right, what else? What else you got?
Lots of things.
I was going to say, lots of lighting issues. We should do one on lighting. Lighting's a whole nother, I'm part of a show at my church on Sundays, a part of a production team, and we have to deal with lighting every weekend for a video shoot. And I'm going to tell you something. There is an art and a science to it. And, you go out there and you move stuff around, you think it's just going to get right, and it doesn't. And then somebody comes who really knows what they're doing, and they just make it look amazing. Like, how did you do that? But, there's definitely some science to it, and taking a little bit of time to educate yourself on lighting, not a vast amount of time, but, 15, 30 minutes might pay dividends just to kind of figure out your lighting issues. Product lighting is different than taking pictures of people. A lot of times what we're shooting, guys, doesn't have a lot of depth, but it does have some funky colors. And depending on what your background is and what camera you're using, it can be a little tricky to get that color to be true. So I would say, too, that you want to have your color be consistent from shot to shot. One thing that I'll get on her about, if she does it, she almost never does it. Like if she gives me one, she's like, I couldn't get the color right. And it's like, it looks like it's 3 different colors in 5 different photos. And I'm like, well, the customer's going to ask, what color are these jeans? So
roll the dice.
Roll the dice. Whatever color you want them to be, blue, green, red, whatever. But try to keep them consistent from shot to shot. Whatever you kind of come up with, that's important so that you don't confuse your customer. Henry asked, what is the 100 listings looking like? Let me look real quick. Henry, I'm pretty sure one of those sold. We've sold 47 of the 100, which translates to 1.15 per day. So that we've sold 47 of them over 41 days for a total gross of $1184 from that 100 listing day. So hopefully that helped. So pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. I think we should do another 100 listing day. What do you think?
Well, that's what somebody said. Somebody said actually do a marathon. Remember our PROF-a-thon?
Just see how many we can get, but don't actually talk to anybody. Just get on there and just talk to ourselves and just run the camera.
What fun would that be?
It would not be fun at all. It'd be horrible. You guys would hate it. Actually, I'd hate it too, because I'd be like,
You're assuming they loved the last one.
That's true. They really did.
Might have had some good comic relief, right?
The first episode has gotten a lot of views. Come on. It's been pretty good. Let's see.
Alana wants to know if we flat lay or use a mannequin. We do not use a mannequin.
No mannequin.
So we do a little fold here, a little fold there. And that's how we do it. That's how we roll in the denim world.
The antisocial prof-a-thon. I like that.
That's no fun, Hank. Come on.
We could do that. The antisocial. And we just mute the sound. You just get to watch.
It would be like one of those websites where you could like webcam in on somebody. Like, you could watch them whenever. Yeah, exactly. So we're kind of finishing up, guys, because we're at the end of the hour here, into the next hour. So I just want to say, the title of this video is How to Scale Your eBay Business as a Reseller. And I don't know what your scaling goals are. I don't know what you're at right now. You know that. I don't know what your capacity is for time and energy and capital you want to put into your business. But I do know that no matter what those factors are, you need to come up with a plan. Because if you want to take your business from X to Y, whatever Y is, you got to figure out how you're going to get there. What's it going to take in terms of time? What's it going to take in terms of capital? What's it going to take in terms of maybe new sourcing, photographs, listings?
And do you have those things? And if not, can you get them? It's not that they're obstacles necessarily. They're just things you need to consider. And maybe it's just you putting in more time and energy with what you're doing. That's just working more hours at it. Maybe it's working more efficiently. Maybe it is hiring someone. Maybe it's streamlining your processes. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's finding items that are easier to list. They don't require as many photos, or you can list in quantity. So you can list 10 items under one listing, quantity of 10. But whatever it is, guys, that you want to do to scale up, come up with some sort of plan. Write it down. Just flesh it out. Whatever makes sense to you. This is my objective, and these are the tactics I think I need to use to get there. And this is what I think will happen, what the outcome will be at the end. It's just like the video I did a couple weeks ago. It really does work, guys. It gets you started on that plan, and you're gonna sprout out from that into all kinds of areas. It's going to give you other ideas for how you can grow your business and scale it up to whatever you want it to be. There's no right or wrong size of eBay business. There's just whatever, makes sense to you and that you want to build it to. And there's no limit either. So don't believe that when people say, oh, you can't do that much money per month or have that many listings, or that's just silly. I mean, of course you can. There's always ways to do those things, so just don't limit yourself. But just come up with a plan. Come up with your plan. Come up with the strategies to execute it, and then just start executing. Hold yourself accountable to it every single day. That's what we're doing going forward in 2017, and I think it's going to be a great year.
I think so, too.
I think we're going to have great results.
I think we are, too. You didn't mention your spreadsheet.
Huh? Oh, the spreadsheet, yeah. The spreadsheet is set to launch on January 1st. So more about that as we get there, but anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit more. That's what it's set to do, and it's set for 2017. I'll try to get a little bit earlier in that, since I get asked about it every week. All right, so I think that's going to do it. You got anything else to add there, Ms. Caron? That was my Cajun version of your name.
Well, if I can be, little munchkins from Wizard of Oz, you can certainly be Cajun Jason, huh?
Right.
So
that's going to do it. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for this show. Hope you guys go out and have a great rest of your day. Come up with those plans, implement them, and move forward. Make it happen. 2017 is right around the corner. No more excuses.
Was that a duck?
We just had like a duck make a weird sound outside. It was really
Alrighty,
weird.
so.
All right. I am Prof Sales.
I'm Karen. That's Gypsy Earl and Vince somewhere behind us. Oh, there they are.
There they are. And we're saying
good sales to you.